With the cross, let me reiterate that any opinion rendered by this witness as to what he believed he saw in a photograph or a video was no more than an opinion, that was how the object appeared to him. Also, to the extent that the bases of any opinion as to how the object appeared to him may have been based on the rear of a slide, the front strap, the trigger guard, or anything other than the back strap. To the extent there was any such opinion, it's stricken and must be disregarded by you. You may continue with your cross.
Sir, just to be clear, I'll show you this. This is MM identification, which I showed you earlier. Can you look at that, please? Yes. That's not a real gun, is it?
Doesn't appear to be, no.
It's a pellet gun, right?
Some type of pellet gun, yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, yesterday you presented some testimony about something that you saw on one of those grainy photographs that you said looked like a magazine, right?
Yes, it was similar in size and shape to a magazine, correct?
Okay, but you weren't trying to tell this jury that that object was a Glock magazine of any particular size, were you?
No.
Now, am I correct, sir, that one of the unique characteristics of a Glock is how it manufactures its gun barrels?
Yes.
Okay. And that's because Glock uses polygonal, cold hammer forged rifling, right?
Correct.
Okay. And that's as opposed to traditional cut rifling?
Correct.
Okay. And am I correct that in cut rifling, traditional cut rifling, there's a cutting tool that makes marks on the inside of the barrel that form lands and grooves?
Correct.
Okay. And those cut marks on the inside of the barrel, in a traditional barrel, leave marks or striations on projectiles that are fired through the barrel?
Correct.
And those marks or striations can then be compared to other spent projectiles by ballisticians to try to trace the gun that fired the projectile.
Yeah, you could attempt to trace the gun.
Using those marks or
Yes.
striations. Okay. But Glocks are different, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because for Glocks, Glocks use a tool called a mandrel, a smooth tool, which is inserted into the barrel, and then mechanical hammers strike the outside of the barrel to imprint the mandrel pattern on the inside of the barrel, right?
That's exactly right.
Okay. And so you end up with a barrel that's got a pattern, a rifling pattern, but it's otherwise a smooth barrel.
Yes.
Okay. So on a Glock barrel, there are generally no cut marks to compare.
It's very difficult to compare a bullet that is fired from a Glock pistol, yes.
Okay. And that's because there hasn't been anything cut on the inside of the barrel.
Correct. There's not that traditional land and groove to impart a striation onto the bullet.
Okay. And you're well aware, are you not, that's been a problem for ballisticians who have been unable to trace projectiles fired by a Glock to a particular firearm.
They've had difficulty with it, yes.
Yeah. Okay. just to illustrate this, sir, I'm just putting on the screen what's been previously marked as U for identification. Does that fairly illustrate the inside of a traditional cut barrel on the left and the inside of a polygonal barrel like a Glock on the right?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Now, by the way, are you familiar with the FBI's general rifling characteristics, the GRC?
No.
Okay. Now, is it fair to say that Glock, within the last couple of years, has instituted a program to address this issue we've been talking about, that is the difficulty of tracing Glock-fired projectiles due to the lack of striations caused by firing the projectile through the Glock barrel?
Well, it goes back farther than that, but yes.
Okay. In fact, excuse me, I'm sorry. Way back, shortly, I think 2003, Glock instituted something called the Miami barrel, or EBIS, E-B-I-S barrel, as a way of conducting research on that subject.
Well, yeah, the enhanced bullet identification system
Right.
Is sort of the program, if you will, and then the barrel itself is popularly referred to as the Miami barrel because it was made for law enforcement agencies in the Miami, Florida area.
Okay. But more recently, Glock has instituted another program in this area called the Glock Marking Barrel, or GMB, right?
Correct.
Okay. And am I correct that the Glock Marking Barrel, that this refers to a limited number of Generation 4 .45 caliber, full-size, semi-automatic pistols made with special marking barrels?
No, I don't understand the question. What are you asking me?
Well, a Glock marking barrel, these have been made only in the last couple of years, right?
Correct.
Okay. And am I correct that for a Glock marking barrel, cuts are made on the mandrel before it is inserted into the barrel prior to hammer forging? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So when the cut mandrel is passed through the barrel and struck with the hammers during the forging process, marks are created on the inside of the barrel that will produce striations or marks on projectiles fired through the barrel.
Yes, it would leave distinguishing characteristics.
It would create distinguishing characteristics on the projectiles fired through there, right?
Yes.
Okay. As opposed to the standard polygonal barrel that we talked about a couple of minutes ago that doesn't leave those distinguishing marks, right?
Correct.
Okay. So now, sir, I'm showing you, this is V for identification, okay? And does this fairly and accurately depict what a projectile that's fired through the standard polygonal barrel looks like on the left over here, and what a projectile fired through this Glock marking barrel looks like on the right?
I object. Can I be seen at the side, please?
Me.
let me just try that again, sir. Does this photograph, B for identification, fairly and accurately show what a projectile fired through a standard polygonal barrel looks like on the left, and what a projectile fired through a Glock marking barrel looks like on the right?
I have no idea. I've never done a side-by-side comparison myself.
You've answered the question.
These GMB barrels have only been used on a limited number of pistols manufactured by Glock, right?
Yes, it's a law enforcement only, typically a law enforcement only item. They're ordered by law enforcement agencies.
Okay. And it's made in .45 caliber, right?
I would assume so. We have the ability to make it 45, yes.
Okay. And would you, based on what you just said a couple of minutes ago, would you agree with me that projectiles fired through a Glock marking barrel could be compared to other projectiles fired through Glock marking barrels?
Presumably, yes.
And you told us it's a law enforcement only product. What do you mean by that, sir?
Well, because the system is designed to aid in identifying what firearm actually discharged the bullet, the firearm and the barrel have to be married together, if you will. Otherwise, there's no point. And it's a minimum 100 gun order to law enforcement agencies, and there's an upcharge for it. I've not had any law enforcement agencies in New England ask for it.
Okay. So it's only available to law enforcement agencies?
Yes.
Okay. Not available to the general public?
Well, there is one exception to that.
Yeah.
The G42 380 subcompact pistol, those are shipping from the factory with GMBs in them.
Okay. So there is a line now of 380s that are available with the GMB or Glock marking barrel now for sale to the public.
Yeah, those would have come out in January of 2014.
Okay. But with respect to .45 caliber GMBs, you're not aware of any of those available for sale to anyone other than a law enforcement agency, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, Glock keeps a record of every firearm with a Glock marking barrel that's sold, right?
Well, they keep a record of every firearm that's sold per Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms regulations.
Okay. And that includes the ones that are sold to law enforcement agencies with Glock marking barrels, right?
Every pistol that leaves the factory has got to have documentation attached to it.
Right, including Glock marking barrel pistols sold to law enforcement agencies.
Sure, yeah. If it left the factory...
Answer the question that's asked.
Sorry, Your Honor. Is that a yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, am I correct that every Glock that's sold comes in a box, right?
Yes, it does.
And inside the box, in addition to the Glock, the pistol, and to some kind of a manual that comes with it, right?
Yes.
Okay. And in addition, there are 2 discharged shell casings that are in every box that goes with a new Glock, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. And these are discharged cartridge casings that were fired from that very gun, right?
Yes.
Okay. object, sir? Look at it and open it, please. Is that representative of the box or container that every new Glock comes in when it's shipped from the factory?
Yes.
I would ask this be marked identification uses of chalk.
I object.
Overall?
Could I be seen, Your Honor?
Me?
And correct.
So let me show you now what's been marked for NN for identification. You open that up and just please take out the envelope containing the 2 discharge cases. And just show that to the jury. Okay. And why don't you just take the 2 casings out and just show the jury that there's 2 casings. Okay, thank you. Put that in. And that's representative of every block in every caliber that's shipped from the factory, right?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Now, you told us a couple minutes ago that Glock is, in fact, required by law to keep track via serial number of every weapon it sells, right?
Yes.
Okay. And would you agree with me, sir, that if a Glock marking barrel projectile was used in a crime, that the casings from that marking barrel, if the casings were found, could be compared to other Glock marking barrel casings, right?
Casings? No.
Casings. Okay. How about the projectiles?
Projectiles, yes.
Okay. The projectiles could be compared.
Yes.
Okay. Now, there's only a limited number of these GMB law enforcement only guns in circulation, right?
Yes, it's not very many, but I don't have an exact number.
But Glock would know, each and every law enforcement agency, that they sold one of those Glock marking barrel 45s to, right?
They would have a record, yes, of what pistols went out of the factory with a GMB barrel in it.
And who bought them?
And who bought them, yes.
Now, sir, we're going to look at some of the video case. Bear with me for a second. Do you remember what you did yesterday, sir? You looked at some video clips and then some still photographs, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the first clip, sir, that we're going to play shows, just to orient you, this is the morning of June 17th, 2013, camera 3, the driveway, between 3:26 to 3:27 a.m. We looked at that clip yesterday, right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Do you remember, this is the clip that shows a car arriving at the house and 3 men getting out of the car and entering the house through the garage. Remember that?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Reset, would you be so kind as to play that? Okay. Okay, you can stop it there. I'm showing you a whole bunch of photographs. Can you identify those as, they appear to be still taken from the clip of video that we just saw.
Yes.
Okay. I offer the gentleman as a name.
Could I just briefly be seen at the side?
You want to, may these just be marked as 3 separate exhibits?
They may, they may.
Now, sir, I'm not going to show you all of these stills, but I'm going to show you some of them. This is first exhibit 323. I ask you to focus your attention on the individual who is already outside the car in the dark sweatshirt. See him?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You see anything in his hands?
There appears to be something in his hands, yes.
See anything that looks like a gun?
I can't tell. The photo is too pixelated.
Okay. Show you a few more. An exhibit. Oh, that's really pixelated. See anything in his hand looks like a gun?
I see something in his hand. Again, I can't identify that as a firearm. The pictures are too blurry.
Okay. Same question with each of these. Just run through a few of them. See anything?
Yes, and my answer would be the same. The black object in his hand, however, it's too pixelated or blurry to make any distinguishing characteristics.
We move to exhibit 324. Drawing your attention to the same individual. See anything in his hand?
Very difficult to see anything in regards to his hands. Again, the picture is too blurry or pixelated.
Okay. Now, these are similar to still photographs that you were shown yesterday, right?
They're similar, but they're not the same.
How about there? You see something in that individual's hand?
Again, there appears to be something there, but it's indistinguishable.
Can't tell us whether this individual is holding what appears to be a firearm. Is that your testimony?
Yes, I would not be able to say that.
Okay. How about there?
Again, my answer would be the same.
Can't tell?
Can't tell.
All right, we move to exhibit 325. Hernandez, the person who appears to be Mr. Hernandez,
Yes.
in that photograph?
Mhm.
Okay. And just to be clear, what's the time on this photograph? That's written at the top.
3:27 a.m. in 30 seconds.
And does that appear to be an iPad in Mr. Hernandez's hand?
I have no idea. It appears to be an object in his hand. I can't identify it.
Well, it doesn't look like a gun, does it?
Again, the photographs are too blurry for me to make an identification.
The photographs you looked at yesterday were not too blurry, right?
Yes, the prosecution's photographs were of better quality.
Yeah. Can't tell what he's holding in his hand?
I can't make a determination off of that now.
Now, this next set, I'll show you in a minute. You're going to see this individuals entering the kitchen and the living room through the camera in the living room. Remember that video from yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Assett, if you would please play camera 14, 327 to 328 on June 17th. And before you do that, can you stop it just for a second? The on-screen time for this is going to start at 15:32:27. Okay, so that's where we're going to start. But it's 327 to 328. Okay, you can stop it. I apologize for not giving this earlier, Your Honor. I apologize. Okay, that's right. Same time, sir. Let me just start with the first two batches. Would you agree with me, it does appear to be still photographs from the video clip which you just saw.
Can I see those again, please? No.
You don't think these come from that video?
They may come from the video clip, but they're not the thing I just saw. The clip I just saw had a gentleman in a white and blue checked shirt walking across the room, and there's no photo of that gentleman in those steps.
We haven't shown you all 13 packages, sir. These are just the first two packages. So would you agree with me that these are accurate still photographs from the first part of the video clip that we saw?
Yes.
Thank you. I'd ask move the mark as the next two exhibits.
No. Maybe marked as the next two exhibits.
Three 26 and 327.
So, sir, I'm going to show you a photograph from exhibit 326. You see, it appears to be Mr. Hernandez in that photograph.
No.
I know. Could be clearer if I just show you first. This is from exhibit 327. Do you see Mr. Hernandez in that photograph?
Towards the right side of the photograph, I see a gentleman that could be Mr. Hernandez. It's not distinct enough to make an identification.
Well, why don't you go on the picture, please? Do you see something light in his hand?
I see a light area of the photograph in the general vicinity of his waistline.
Well, does it appear to be an iPad or a phone or something like that to you?
I can't tell from this.
Not clear enough to see, is that your phone?
That is better.
Okay, well, now that we've zoomed in a little bit, agree with me, sir, that appears to be something like an iPad or some other electronic device in Mr. Hernandez's hand.
No.
Okay, well, does it look like a Glock pistol to you?
No.
I'll show you another picture from Exhibit 327. You see someone that appears to be Mr. Hernandez in that picture?
Again, it's too pixelated and blurry to make a positive identification.
Well, I'm going to ask you to make a positive identification, sir. I'm asking you if it appears to be Mr. Hernandez holding an iPad.
Again, I'm unable to say that.
Is that better?
That's better, yes.
Okay, well, I've got some help over here. Does that appear to be Mr. Hernandez holding an iPad?
It appears to be Mr. Hernandez, and he's holding something in his hand that's got a white glow to it.
Glock pistols don't have white glows to them, do they, sir?
No, they do not.
Now, none of these still photographs I'm showing you right now were displayed in the courtroom on direct examination, were they?
No, I don't recall seeing these.
Show you another one from Exhibit 327. You see what appears to be Mr. Hernandez holding an object that's glowing in his hand?
Yes.
Show you one more from this batch. Still Exhibit 327. Does that again appear to be Mr. Hernandez holding something that's glowing in his hand?
Yes.
So I'm going to show you 8 more packages of still photographs. Do those also appear to be still photographs taken from the video clip which we saw a few minutes ago?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Your Honor, I move the admission of these step by step as next exhibit.
No objection.
Have been marked as the next exhibits.
I'm going to show you some photographs that are from exhibit 328. You see what appears to be Mr. Hernandez in this photograph holding what looks like an iPad or something else lit up in his hand?
Yes.
Same with that one?
Yes.
Same with that one?
Yes.
Okay, let me move ahead to exhibit 331. So, in this photograph, do you see that a man in a dark sweatshirt is now visible?
No, where are you referring to? In the foreground here, mixed in with the sofa? Or somewhere else?
Let me look at it. Well, how many individuals, let me back up here so you can see the whole picture. How many individuals do you see in that photograph?
A total of 3.
Okay.
Person in a white shirt, person in a checked shirt, and there looks to be someone in the very far background wearing some sort of a dark colored shirt.
Okay, and you see what appears to be Mr. Hernandez holding something in his hand that's lit up?
Yes.
I want to show you a photograph from exhibit 332. Do you see anybody in that photograph with his foot up?
Yes, there's a, looks to be a male subject. He's standing in the transitional area between the living room and the dining area. He's back more or less to the camera.
Okay, and that doesn't appear to be Mr. Hernandez, does it?
No.
All right. We'll move on to Exhibit 334. You see an individual here in the foreground?
Yes.
Okay. Does he appear to have anything in his hand?
I can't really tell from this photo.
Okay. Another one? You don't, does that individual have anything in his hand?
Yes, in this particular photo, it looks like he's got something in his left hand, but I can't distinguish what.
You can't tell whether or not it's a gun?
I wouldn't think that's a firearm, no, but I can't tell what it is.
Does that photo give you a better look at all or not?
My impression is much the same. It's a black object in his hand. I can't tell what it is. It does not appear to be a firearm.
It's not what?
Doesn't appear to be a firearm, but I can't tell what it is.
Okay, and say one more. What makes you say it doesn't appear to be a firearm, sir?
Well, when you look at that object in the person's hand, it's generally round in shape or square in shape. And most firearms, because they have, especially semi-automatic pistols, because they have the grip frame and the barrel, they are essentially right angles, more or less, and they have that profile. And that doesn't appear to me to be a firearm.
Well, it kind of depends on how it's being held, doesn't it?
Yes, but if you're holding it by the muzzle or by the barrel, you're going to see the grip frame, and if you're holding it by the grip frame, you're going to see the slide in the barrel. And those, in this particular photograph, those distinguishing characteristics are absent.
Are you telling us that he does not have a firearm in his hand?
No, I'm saying it doesn't appear to be a firearm to me.
Be happy to hear, sir. I only have one more set of these. So, sir, we're now going to go to the foyer area, camera 13. You recall seeing that video yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember seeing that there were some skips and freezes in that particular video?
Yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Rossett, if you would be so kind as to play camera 13, 327 to 330, please. Okay, you can stop it. Three more sets of photographs, sir. You tell us those appear to be still photographs taken from the video clip that we just saw. Sorry, 4-pack.
Yes.
I don't know if these is an empty.
Three 336 and 339.
I'll show you some photographs from Exhibit 336, sir. So let me ask you first, can you read the system time on the screen?
I object, that's not the system time.
I'm sorry. Can you read the screen time in the upper left?
15:32 and 53 seconds.
Okay. And would you agree with me that that screen time is a few minutes after the screen times that we've seen in the earlier sets of stills in the earlier videos today?
I really don't know. I'll take your word for it.
I'm sorry, take my word for it,
Yeah.
that we're going chronologically?
Yeah.
Okay. And in this one, and Did you see in the video a person who appeared to Mr. Hernandez go up the stairs and then come back down the stairs?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in this photograph, you see Mr. Hernandez,
Yes.
or someone who appears to Mr.
Yes,
Hernandez?
yes, I'm sorry.
And you see him holding what appears to be an object that's lighting up his hand?
Yes.
Okay. Show you some more photographs from the same set, 336. Same question, you see him with an object that appears to be lit up in his hand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Doesn't appear to be a firearm, does it?
No, not at all.
Same?
Yes, sir.
Same?
Yes, sir.
Same?
Yes, sir.
Same?
Yes.
He's just starting to walk up the stairs here,
Yes, sir.
and he's got the same object in his hand.
Yes, sir.
See it glowing?
I do.
You weren't shown any of these stills yesterday in direct examination, were you?
I don't believe so. I don't recall, but I don't recall seeing yesterday.
See him there with a lit up object in his hand?
Yes, sir.
Same there?
Yes, sir.
Same?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, show you a photograph from Exhibit 337. You see, how many individuals do you see in that photograph?
You can see Mr. Hernandez by the stairs. You can see the gentleman in the black hoodie standing in the open doorway, and then in front of him is another person.
Okay? So you see two people in this area, near this doorway, is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
And then you see Mr. Hernandez over here heading up the stairs.
Correct.
And Mr. Hernandez, again, has a lit up object in his hand.
Yes, he does.
I'll show you the photographs from Exhibit 338. See the person appears in Mr. Hernandez heading up the stairs.
Yes.
He still has that same object glowing in his hand.
Yes, sir.
Same here.
Yes.
You remember the video, sir, of Mr. Hernandez, or the person appearing to be Mr. Hernandez, came down the stairs after he went up the stairs?
Yes.
Okay. So let me just show you some photographs from Exhibit 339. Do you see anybody in that photograph? No.
I don't see anybody in that photograph, no.
All right, we'll show you the next one. You see a person who appears to be Mr. Hernandez in that photograph?
Yes,
Okay, and is he walking away from the stage?
yes,
And does he appear to have that same lit-up object in his hand?
yes, there's something glowing in his right hand.
In which hand?
I'm sorry, left hand.
Okay. Now, just tell us the screen time on this photograph, if you can read it.
Looks to be 15:37:09.
Is it 15:34:09?
It could be
Let me
15:34:09.
show it to you. I don't want to keep guessing.
Yep, my apologies, that's a 4.
15:34.
15:34:09.
Okay. So, when the screen time is 15:34:09, the person that appears to be Mr. Hernandez has a glowing object in his hand, right?
Yes.
Okay. That was 15:34:09, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let me show you another photograph that you were showing yesterday. Can you read the screen time on this photograph?
Looks to be 15.
I'm sorry, I'm being unfair. Let me show it to you.
15:34:57.
Okay. So would you? So I'm sorry. For the record, this is Exhibit 317A. This was shown to you yesterday on direct examination,
Yes.
right? Okay. So this one, the screen time is 15:34:57, right?
Yes,
And the last one that we're talking about was 15:34:09, right?
that's right.
So this would be 48 seconds later,
Yes,
right? After Mr. Hernandez went upstairs and downstairs.
yes,
Okay. And in this photograph, after Mr. Hernandez went upstairs and downstairs, you told us yesterday that you see in his hand what appears to be a firearm, right?
yes.
Got a moment, Your Honor, please.
Me.
No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Bundy.
Mr. Sultan asked you a number of questions about what you were aware of with respect to pellet guns. Is that correct?
Yes.
Are you aware of anybody going pellet gun shooting at 3:30 in the morning?
No?
Wouldn't make any sense now, would it?
Object to the...
Sustained.
Well, to the extent that you understand pellet guns, and he showed you, if I may, Your Honor, two things that appear to be printed off the internet, KK for identification and LL for identification. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you look at those two things. Had you ever seen those prior to your testimony here today?
No.
And when Mr. Sultan was asking you about traveling down here to meet with the prosecutors, how many times, fair to say, you traveled more than once to meet with the defense attorneys?
Yes.
And how many times did you travel down here to meet with the defense attorneys?
There was 2 occasions. The first occasion, when I got here, I was told that the defense counsel
Question is,
wasn't coming.
You came,
motion strikes allowed.
Fair to say
Question
you
is,
came-
how many times did you travel down here to meet with defense attorneys? Let me remind you to answer the question you're asked and not to add anything.
Twice.
Twice you came to meet with counsel. Is that defense counsel?
Yes.
And the first time you came to meet with defense counsel, were you able to meet with them?
No.
Did they show up?
No.
And the second time you met with defense counsel, those 2 exhibits that are marked for identification that I just shown you, well, let me back up just a little bit. Just with regard to defense counsel, with whom did you meet?
I met with all 3 of the attorneys.
Okay, and for what period of time did you meet with all 3 defense attorneys, please?
Something less than 15 minutes.
Okay, and whose choosing of that amount of time was it? Was that yours or theirs?
Theirs.
And did you have with you a number of firearms?
Yes.
And did they speak to you?
Yes.
Did they ask you any questions about your opinion?
No.
Did they, those 2 items for identification, did they show you those 2 items for identification?
No.
And in fact, we take a look at them. KK for identification that Mr. Sultan showed you says Hobbytron, correct?
Yes.
And it says, in fact, that you can't buy this spring airsoft pistol. Isn't that correct?
Well, it says it's out of stock, yes.
They don't have it,
They don't have it.
right? Now, this particular model, can you describe there, I think Mr. Sultan asked you, is that similar to a Glock? Is that correct?
Yes.
And you indicated that there are some similarities and there are dissimilarities. Is that correct?
Yes.
And could you describe to the jurors, please, what are the dissimilarities?
Well, the big obvious one is this particular replica firearm's got a bright red-orange tip on it at the muzzle, and obviously our firearms do not have that. And then secondly, if you look at the top of the slide, you can see 2 relieved areas where there's a depression, and our firearms do not have that.
And in addition, Mr. Sultan was wielding what's now been marked as MM for identification. Do you see that?
I decided to perform the question.
Your objection is sustained. You may rephrase the question.
Let me ask it to you this way. Prior to your testimony here, including during the time that you met with all 3 defense counsel, did they ever show you that item, MM for identification?
No.
Now, can you tell us, sir, has that item been modified?
Yes, somebody has deliberately painted over the orange safety aspect of the muzzle, and they've painted it black.
And it's fair to say that was never shown to you before, correct?
No.
And the first time you see it is today when Mr. Sultan is standing over there next to the podium, correct?
Yes.
And so prior to that, at least as far as you know, the only person that had possession of that was Mr. Sultan. True?
True.
And this is clearly, in fact, you want to smell that? Smell the
Still got
tip. Something's been applied to this, correct, to change its appearance. Is that true?
Yes.
And in fact, this item, does this item have dissimilarities from a Glock?
Sure.
And can you show that to us, please?
Yes. Here on the front of the slide, these are commonly referred to as forward cocking serrations. Our pistols do not have that. Again, you will notice that the muzzle, although it's been painted black, extends from the frame of the slide of the pistol. Ours do not do that. Here, you've got some grooving on the top of the slide. Ours do not have that. And this grip frame and texture here is very similar to the Springfield XD pistol. The equipment rail here, notice it's got a series of individual slots. Ours only has 1 cross slot, and you'll see that this pistol has 1, 2, 3, 4 cross slots, similar to, this style is known as the Picatinny rail style. So it's got some significant differences.
I have the... copies of with the magazine, please. If I may, Your Honor. Now, I'm showing you what was previously introduced as JJ for identification, the Glock and the magazine, correct?
Yes.
And that continues to be empty of any live ammunition, is that correct?
Correct. It is clear and safe.
And the magazine as well, is that correct?
That is correct.
And if you could insert the magazine into the weapon, please. Now, if you could eject the magazine, please. Can you try and insert the magazine into this weapon? Marked MM for identification.
It will not fit.
If you could just reinsert the magazine, please. Now, I just ask you to tell us, do those items weigh the same, please?
No, the replica airsoft pistol here is considerably lighter than the actual Glock firearm.
Your Honor, I'd ask that the jurors be allowed to assess the relative difference between the weights themselves.
I object, Your Honor, he just
Objection
testified.
sustained.
Could I just be seen at the sidebar, please, Your Honor? Now, with respect to Exhibit MM for identification, you'd agree with me there's been no suggestion this item is anywhere in that video that you've seen, the DVR video, correct?
Correct.
No one's ever suggested that to you, correct?
Correct.
And just give us an approximation about how much that weighs.
This doesn't weigh much more than 16 ounces. I venture to guess it just weighs a little bit over a pound, if that.
So approximately half the weight of a fully loaded 45 caliber Glock, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, looking at LL for identification, that Mr. Sultan showed you, could you just tell us, is there any internet retail site identified anywhere on these 2 pages that he showed you?
No, I don't see any indication here as to where you could actually purchase this item.
And in fact, there's a description of where that particular pellet gun, whatever it is manufactured. Is that correct?
It says manufacturer WE Tech Industries.
And does it say where that's located?
Says at the bottom there, made in Taiwan.
Okay. And so, Mr. Sultan, for the first time showed you that. Do you know whether or not this particular item can even be purchased in the United States?
No, I don't.
Now, is it fair to say, to the extent that these are pellet guns, are you familiar with the shell casing?
Am I familiar with shell casings? Yes.
Okay. Just ask you to take a look at exhibit number 125.
It's a brass shell casing. It's in caliber .45 auto, and it is Federal Cartridge Corporation brand.
These items, KK, LL, and MM for identification, fair to say none of those three, these three, could have fired that particular shell casing. Is that correct?
Correct, there's no way.
It's an impossibility, is it not?
Yes.
This item here, JJ for identification, is this item capable of firing that particular cartridge casing?
Yes, and in fact, that's what it's designed to fire.
You see those brown envelopes there?
Yes.
You take a look at those, please.
These are also 45 auto cartridges. They're plus P marked, or at least one of them is. And one is a Federal brand, and the other one looks to be a Spear. So this one is a 45 ACP Spear manufactured case, and it's specifically marked plus P. And this one is a Federal case marked 45 auto. It's not a plus P case.
And those two shell casings in that exhibit are KK, LL, and MM capable of firing those particular two shell casings?
No.
Is JJ capable of firing those two shell casings?
Yes.
And if these remaining items here, exhibits 60, 61, and 62 are also all 45 caliber shell casings. Are any of these three items for identification, KK, LL, or MM, capable of firing any of those?
No.
Is item JJ for identification capable of firing those?
Yes.
Now, yesterday, you indicated in response to a question from Mr. Sultan, who was talking about a bullet, that that's not proper terminology. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you indicated that the proper terminology is what, please?
It's a cartridge or a round of ammunition.
I'm just going to show you exhibit number 158. BlackBerry cell phone.
I object to this, Your Honor, as being totally beyond the scope of any cross-examination.
I'm going to tell you, if I may. You see that telephone number there?
Yes, sir, I do.
And could you just tell us what the telephone number is of that BlackBerry cell phone, Exhibit 158?
It says 1-203-606-8969.
I'm going to go, sir, to the Remember section of that phone. Under the title, Get Done. Do you see that?
Yes, sir, I do.
And you see this here, starting just with that word Hummer. Do you see that?
Yes, I see the word Hummer.
And can you read down to the next entry on exhibit number 158, the cell phone 8969?
It says stolen range.
Next, please.
Aaron Stretcher.
And then the entry right after that, can you describe that for us, please, off of exhibit number 158?
Send rounds.
A few minutes after 1, we're going to suspend at this time. Please keep an open mind. Don't discuss the case among yourselves with anyone else.